Bonjour, French students. You noticed I really emphasized the pronunciation of that word, bonjour, because this week, in week 2, beginning with le chapitre préliminaire, compétence 2, you are going to be learning about les voyelles nasales. What do I mean by les voyelles nasales? Nasal sounds. So nasal vowel sounds. So that's going to be kind of the highlight of this video, along with les nombres de 0 à 59. So two things we'll be talking about in this particular video, the numbers from 0 to 59, and as I just mentioned, we'll also be looking at pronunciation of nasal vowels. So this week we'll look at compétence 2, and that will take us into compétence 3. So most of the mind tap exercises you're looking at this week are really focusing more on compétence 3 because the numbers from 0 to 59 and les voyelles nasales that you'll also learn about are kind of preparing you for these other topics. Les jours de la semaine, the days of the week, l'heure, which would be telling time. An autoportrait is just kind of describing yourself. So that's another topic that we'll hear about this week. And so we'll go ahead and get started with compétence 2, les nombres. Okay, so that will take us over here to our textbook page and scrolling down to start practicing some numbers in a different way. La page 10. So this number, even though it ends in the letter X, it's pronounced with an S sound. 10. 10. Okay, so rather than look at the numbers right away, I think it's actually more helpful to begin with pronunciation, la prononciation. So as we see here, we're going to be looking at les nombres et les voyelles nasales. Okay, so as it tells us here, although final consonants are generally silent in French, they're pronounced in the following numbers when counting. So as we'll see when we look at the numbers above, some letters are going to be silent and other ones that we would expect to be silent might be pronounced. So in the number 7, which is the number for 7, the P is silent, but we pronounce the T. Same thing in the numbers 6 et 10. So 6 looks just like English, right? But we pronounce it 6 in French. And the same with 10. That X is pronounced like an S. So some numbers that have some silent letters would be 5 for 5, 6 for 6, 7 for the number 7, 8 for the number 8, 9 for the number 9, and 10 for the number 10. Okay, and this section also tells us that we have many nasal vowels in numbers. So whenever you see a vowel followed by the letter M or N in the same syllable, the M or N is silent and the vowel is nasal. So what exactly does that mean? We don't really have something like that in English, right? So if you look at this first combination, ON and OM, and this symbol right here is what we call the phonetic symbol coming from the International Phonetic Alphabet. We might see that symbol in a dictionary. Basically, if you think of the sound O in English, like a long O, like we learn as children, and just make it nasal by plugging your nose. You can kind of pinch your nose almost like you have a cold. So O becomes O. Oh, oh, oh. And if you remove your fingers from your nose, you should still be able to do that sound. So some examples of that sound would be onze, bonjour, like I said at the beginning of this video. Non, the word for no. Notice my English O is so different from that. In English I say no, but in French it would be no, no. So all of the sound vibrations should be traveling through my nose as I say these sounds. Or no, which is the same pronunciation as N-O-N, M-O-N, N-O-N, and N-O-M sound exactly the same. But no, this one means no, and no, this one means name. Hey, the combination of A-N, A-M, or E-N, E-M sound like on. So you could imagine saying the sound ah in English and just kind of pinch your nose. So a becomes a. So 40, anglais, dimanche, chambre. And the same in the row beneath. 30, comment, ensemble, embêtant. So the E, EN, AN combinations have the same sound. They're just different spellings for the same sound. As you move into this combination of IN, IM, AIN, AIM, UN, and UM, all of these have this sound It's a little harder to describe this sound. It's sort of like but like an AH, but you again have to send that airstream or that sound going through your nose. So it would be like and then pinch your nose. 5, 15, 20, important, demain, américain, mexicain, fin. And in the final row here, 1, lundi, brun, parfum. So all of those combinations really have a very similar kind of nasal sound. The last two categories we'll look at would be words that are spelled with IEN, which sounds like ien. So that would be words like bien, combien, canadien, rien. So it's slightly different from this EN combination above, but similar, I suppose. And the last set of, or the last sound that we see here is OIN, and it sounds like moi. So we hear that in words like moi, loin, coin, and soin. And so that would be kind of an overview of the nasal vowel system in French. Okay, so if we look at, I'm going to actually include links to a couple of videos along with this one that I'm recording for you. This first video, let me scroll it all the way back to the beginning. It goes through all les voyelles nasales, or the nasal vowels, and it does it in a fairly simple way, kind of a listen and repeat sort of way. The other video that I'm going to share with you that does this in kind of a unique way, this comes from a language instructor in Nice in the south of France, and she narrates the entire video in French, but there are subtitles in English, and the way she explains it, even if you didn't have the subtitles, I think you could gain a lot just by listening to the way she explains her body movements. She speaks very slowly and clearly, and the subtitles really help a lot. So I will link both of these videos. I think they're both really good resources for practicing nasal vowels, and that will help to prepare you for the oral presentations that are coming up in a couple of weeks. So look out for those two videos. Okay, going back to our page here. Now that we know a little bit more about the nasal vowels, we'll scroll back up and we'll take a look at the numbers. Okay, so the number system 0 through 10 is pretty simple to learn and pretty simple to commit to memory. So I'll say them and you can practice repeating after me, and it's a good idea to kind of backtrack the video and practice it multiple times. Okay, we'll start right here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so those would be the numbers 0 through 10. Notice some of the nasal vowels that already appear in that list of numbers 0 through 10, like 1, or let's see, 5, or I think that's pretty much most of them there, 0 through 10. Okay, then we'll move on to looking at the 11 through 20 group. Something I want to point out to you here is that 11 through 16 are single words for those numbers. As you move into 17 through or 17, 18, 19, we actually have two words that are linked together with a hyphen. So we'll go through 11 through 16 first, and then I'll kind of explain the logic behind 17 through 20. Okay, 11. Notice that nasal vowel sound there. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now for 17, 18, and 19, you notice that 10 is the number for 10, and then you add on the extra number to it. So it's like 10 plus 7, 10 plus 8, 10 plus 9. So 17. 18. Notice that with 18, there's a liaison. You remembered about that, learning about that in the last video. When the sound that begins the next word is a vowel sound, it's a silent H, you make a connection. You actually pronounce the vowel at the end of the word. So instead of 18, it becomes 18. Okay? 19. Here there's a liaison even though there's actually a vowel sound or a consonant sound that begins the word neuf. So it's 17, 18, 19. And then 20 is 20. Okay, and then as we look at the next series of numbers, 21 all the way through 29, we're basically doing addition. So it's like 20 and 1, 22, 23, very similar to what we would do in English. So let's go ahead and pronounce these. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 et 30. So we begin a new series of numbers with 30, and we continue on doing the same thing. It's the same pattern that goes through all the numbers. So we can say 31, 32, 33, and you would go on until you got all the way to 39, okay, with the same pattern that we see for the 20s. Then the 40s, that would be 40, 41, 42, 43, etc., etc. And then going on to 50, this is pronounced 50, 51, 52. Okay, so there we see all the numbers that will basically take you up to the number 59 or 59. Okay, so you might see, let's say, a math problem in French. In English, we would say 2 plus 2 equals 4. So here it would be combien font 2 et 2. Combien means how many. So it's literally how many makes 2 and 2. Okay, 2 et 2 font 4. So 2 and 2 make 4. And we can see the same process here in the subtraction problem. Combien font 5 moins 2? So how many makes 5 minus 2? Okay, 5 moins 2 font 3. So 5 minus 2 make 3. Okay, so that's kind of a brief overview of the number system from 0 to 59. We had a good look at nasal vowel pronunciation of many numbers and other words here. And I think following this video, the best practice you could do would also be to take a look at the other two videos that I will link for you in the Chapitre Préliminaire folder. And to connect all of this to MindTap, if you look at the exercises that are due for this week, there isn't so much related to the numbers specifically, but learning the numbers is going to help you prepare for the exercises that you are doing here. So if you look at the other topics, in week 2, semaine 2, les jours de la semaine, the days of the week, autoportrait, so describing yourself, l'heure, which would be telling time, you need the numbers and the nasal vowel sounds to be able to build up to those other topics, to be able to talk about the topics in compétence 3. So we're kind of laying the foundation for the rest of the week. So the next videos I will post on Wednesday and Friday of this week, and they'll move into these topics, the other topics that you see in the box here. So you're welcome to go ahead and work on the mind tap exercises, begin looking ahead at those other topics, but I will post videos with explanations and examples of those as we get later into the week. So I hope you have a good night, bonne nuit, and I will see you the next time.